What up, Z-Fam? I'm back. This is Take 2, Incident Report 33. It is mobile edition, except I'm not mobile. I'm back at home in Las Vegas. I gave the boys the day off from the formal studio shoot because I wanted to get intimate one-on-one with you guys. Because today I did 2 crazy gigs in Las Vegas, and I wanted to talk about them because I think it relates to our ongoing discussions during Nursing Week of the state of nursing and why nurses are freaking amazing. All right, let me start again. Hopefully you guys can hear me. If you have any problems, let me know. It seems like it's working fine before. I had to stop the feed before because it seemed to have streaming problems. All right, guys. Here's what happened today. The first gig I did in Las Vegas was at the MGM Grand, the big convention center, 2,000 people, and it was the American, the Association of Clinical Documentation Improvement Specialists, ACDIS. Sounds horrible, doesn't it? Come on, let's be blunt. It sounds terrible because it sounds like a bunch of bean counters that do bean counter stuff. Guess what it actually was? I show up there. Clinical Documentation Improvement is run by nurses and doctors. So imagine this, and I had little idea about this. These are clinical bedside nurses and docs who, in this phase 2 of their career, and often it's because they are either burned out doing clinical medicine or nursing, or they found that they can contribute more on this end of the administrative side later on in the second part of their career. And so they shift into being the specialists that look at our documentation and go, you know what? Maybe what the clinician meant when they wrote this was this, but the coder's never going to know that because coders are kind of like the Rain Men of the medical world. They're just like, you know, Wapner, Wapner, Wapner. It's very black and white, and they need to translate the codes into us getting paid. So what the clinical documentation improvement people do is they actually go, oh, maybe this clinical story I'm seeing in the note, it kind of implies this. Let me send a question back to the docs and nurses and see what they really meant by that. Then we can clarify and actually get paid and document what actually happened so that, number one, in the electronic health record, we actually have data collection that's meaningful when we take big data and crunch it and look for patterns and look for quality improvement processes that actually will work. In other words, taking technology and leveraging it to free the human relationship in Health 3.0. And I was actually blown away because there were so many nurses doing this work. And Z-Pak, it's real easy for us, for people on the front lines of clinical medicine, say, to discount this kind of group and go, oh, they're not touching patients anymore and da-da-da-da-da-da. No, they've taken all this bedside experience and they're taking it to the next stage in their careers. Now, the question is, do we need this in Health 3.0? In 2.0, since it's really about click, 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 document, click, bill, document, click, quality measures, right? We absolutely need it. And the key thing is we're trying to build 3.0 by first getting the boat of 2.0 to get to the shore. That means we have to fix the leaks in the boat, make sure it's optimized, as painful as it is, and get us to 3, where we're actually paid on outcomes, where the medicine is repersonalized, where the human relationship is back at the center, we have time again with our patients, and we're all allowed and encouraged to practice at the top of our license collaboratively. So when I walk into the MGM this morning, first of all, I go do my sound check. And of course, the sound check's a disaster because they don't have monitors on stage because who would think that a doctor coming to do a talk would need audio monitors to be able to hear himself sing? So unless I tell them, which I don't because I don't have a writer or anything, they didn't know. So I couldn't hear myself when we were doing the audio. So I knew that all the musical performances were going to be disasters. But it didn't bother me because immediately these 2,000 people started filing in and a big old line formed. And one by one, we started doing selfies and talking to people. And these were front-line nurses who've moved into the next stages of their career, doctors, administrators, who all wanted to build 3.0. So many of them were already part of the Z-Pak. So many of them were right here and with us on the live shows. And I was floored because they were like, thank you for creating a space where a tribe can form and we can have these discussions. And so many of them really wanted me to tell you guys, listen, you don't understand how important what they do is. It is actually clinically relevant because if we don't document it for the bean counters, we don't stay in business. And not only that, but we don't get credit for what we actually have done, for how sick our patients are and how much better we have made them. So this stuff is important. And I think when we move into 3.0, these nurses and these docs who do clinical documentation improvement, they are going to help us actually get paid to generate real outcomes that matter for patients. And that's the engine of 3.0. So the first thing I wanted to say is I was just floored by the nursing contribution to this, all right? And it's real easy. It's real easy to discount that, but don't. The second thing I wanted to say is, oh my gosh, nurses are so amazing. It would be like probably 10 nurses to one doctor. And there was a line of like 100 people. I still can't even believe people want to take a picture with me. And I'm going to say it's because I was on the front page of the Las Vegas Review-Journal, the preeminent news artifice of our time, okay? Because we all know, all right, that's me there, print isn't dead, except that it is. And the only reason I bought this paper is because my dad was like, can you get me a copy of when you are on the front page of the Sunday paper? And I had to ask him, what's a Sunday paper? Anyways, joking aside, we did selfies, but more importantly, I got to connect one-on-one with all these people. And again, like 10 nurses to one doc. And everybody told a quick story, and everybody said how they're trying to do stuff in their community, because all healthcare is local, to try to build 3.0. And it was absolutely moving. And I never thought I'd be in the MGM hotel, nearly moved to tears by connecting with other people. So that was nursing story number one, close encounters of the nursing kind. This is still Nurses Week, but even if it wasn't, I'd really want you guys to know, oh my gosh, I love you so much. Next, and by the way, amazing crowd. Anytime there are nurses in the crowd, the shows rock. Even though I can't sing worth crap or rap worth crap live when I can't hear myself, and even when I can hear myself, they pretended I was good. And that meant a lot to me. That was compassion, people. The second gig I did today was a much smaller gig. And this was something where the nurses, a wonderful nurse leader at Mountain View Hospital here in Las Vegas named Lauren, hit me up a while ago, and she's like, it's Nurses Week. Do you think you might be able to come and talk to our nurses at lunch? It would really be great. And normally it's hard for me to commit to that because we have our show. I end up traveling around the country doing paid gigs that generate money to support the show. And if I do, gigs that aren't my standard rate, then it can kind of, it's not nice to the people that pay and this and that. And there's all these considerations, right? But mostly it's hard to commit because if I get an offer for a gig out of town and I have to go and it's going to generate revenue to support the show, it's hard to miss that. But guess what? I was already doing a gig in Vegas for ACDIS. So I told her, sure. So I'm late because I got out of the first gig late and had to run around, and I show up, Lauren came and found me in the parking lot, took me up. Everybody was already there. Like the thing was packed with nursing students, nurses, residents, the head of nursing there, director of nursing, like they were all there. And I couldn't get the slides to work. I couldn't get the mic to work. So I was like, forget it, guys. Let's just do this. I just used my voice. I played a few slides off the laptop. The music played and I performed over it without a mic. And the crazy thing is, it worked. And you know why it worked? Because the audience were the most lovely and just compassionate nurses you could ever hope for. The whole time I was looking at the audience and they were like this. And this is a noon conference where people fall asleep. And you know why? Because they knew that this 3.0 thing, this movement, is their movement. This is them building this thing. And we together here in Las Vegas, we're on the front lines. So I am so excited because afterwards I got to connect with them. And let me tell you, they gave little gift baskets for my kids. They knew the Z-Pups, and the kids there's these helmets that they had for this program they did. And so they have these cool bike helmets and these little kangaroos. And they are nurses, you guys. Nurses. I love you so much. I really do. And this isn't an affectation for Nurses Week. Like, every time I talk for nurses, I'm filled with joy. Like, it's a kind of a joy. You know what I mean? It's so beautiful what you guys do every single day. And the caring just comes through. And I know a lot of you guys are suffering. I know you're suffering. and that you still do this even though you're suffering is a testament, right? And the docs who were there at both talks, they were amazing too, and I had some really cool conversations with them. So the bottom line is I am inspired, I'm blown away by everybody on the front lines of healthcare right now, whether you're on the front lines or whether you've stepped back to work on the administrative side, on the documentation side, whatever it is. We all are tasked with taking care of patients ultimately and taking care of each other. And the fact that we can do this as part of a movement, and I want you guys to stay tuned because we are going to start coming with very concrete ideas, including policy ideas, including more teaching on distinguishing between empathy and compassion so we can avoid empathy fatigue, which is what we're really suffering from. More talking about how to motivate and change behavior in people through an understanding of the unconscious elephant that we're all sitting on and our little conscious writer who's really the press secretary for that. And all these kind of ideas we're going to keep elaborating on. And Z-Pak, we can't do it without you. I want you to hit share. I want you to go to iTunes and rate, subscribe, review our podcast because that helps us. We're always in the top 40 of science and medicine podcasts, which is absolutely absurd since we're not a podcast, we're a video show. But to see that, and the other day, we were the #2 Facebook Live broadcast in the nation when we were broadcasting. That is insane, and we can't do it without you guys. So as Nursing Week starts to wind up, I want you guys not just to give love to the nurses, but give love to everybody on the team because we're all building this idea of 3.0 together. All right, let's take some comments, yo, because I'm feeling the love. Thank you for all the appreciation. You're an awesome voice for nurses and doctors. We need you. Oh, thank you, Arlene Coffey, and thanks for all you do. One of the hardest things we deal with are rude, nasty, egotistical docs. I love you, Cindy Hansen. Cindy, I would argue that the reason many of us are rude, egotistical, and nasty is that we've been created that way through our training, through the hierarchy of how we're taught, through modeling on mentors who've behaved that way. And that is all going to change as we evolve into a system where we all support each other and everybody practices at the top of their license, in which case there's no real room for these massive overbearing hierarchical egos, right? It's just not going to work. We're all on a team. How much fun do you have when you work on a team? Even if there's somebody with a big ego, if we're having fun and we're treating each other with compassion, it's so much easier to get through the day, and our patients benefit from it because that compassion wells over to our patients, right? And again, I'm not talking about empathy, feeling other people's pain and acting out of that feeling, because that can bias us. It's a kind of a spotlight. I'm talking about love for people, concern for people unconditionally in the face of their suffering and their daily struggles. And that's what we need to do. It is so much fun to be a hospitalist. When you go through the hospital, you know everybody, you're kind of friends, you support each other, and you have fun. That's the secret sauce, honestly. And that's how I do. I rounded yesterday with the family medicine docs at UMC Hospital. Thank you for letting me do that, by the way. I love rounding with you guys. And it was so much fun. I learned from them. I think they learned from me, and we just had a blast. And these are sick patients that we're taking care of with love and compassion. These aren't mutually exclusive concepts. We can do all of those things. In fact, we have to do all of those things to practice at the top of our game. All right, what do we got here? Keep scrolling through these. Oh, Carrie Bennett, you're going to make me cry. You better cry, Carrie. Today there were a lot of tears, all right, because the way that we do these performances is I want to take people on a journey from when we were idealistic to when we got burned out to when we're not just idealistic, but we're living that idealism again. And that is the vision of Health 3.0 that we're all Z-Pak, we're all struggling to create now. And it's really beautiful to see the message connect because people get emotional, including me. So it's a wonderful thing. What do we got? Cynthia Ijogu is telling Cody Johnson that the Facebook Live is a podcast on Apple. Yes, it's on Apple. You can also go to SoundCloud and stream it there. SoundCloud.com/ZDoggMD if you don't use Apple stuff. What do we got here? Oh, here's somebody says, oh, it disappeared. Hold on. I'm going to keep reading these real quick. Thank you so much for recognizing how important nurses are. Your appreciation is genuine. Thanks, Wendy, and thank you for all you do. There's a lot of thank you comments here. Can you just come and run my hospital in Maine? We need 3.0, firmly entrenched and holding fast in 2.0 right now, Nicole Dunbar. Look, 2.0 has to be mastered before we can get to 3.0 because you need to master some of these processes and quality improvement and all that before you can go, okay, let's transcend it. Let's just do the right thing for the patients. We now have the tools to know how to do that. Let's get paid based on actual outcomes and let's support each other on a team with the patient at the center, but that also supports us. And it's a rehumanized analog relationship. That's really what it's about. All right, guys. On that note, I am going to, wait, one more. Doris Carroll, who is a part of the Show Me Your Stethoscope nurse staffing sort of movement. Admin is not interested in 3.0, not here in the Midwest. Watch Show Me Your Stethoscope and Nurses Take DC. We will change the world. We will mobilize nurses across the country because nurses will unite for ratios. Watch us, and then it gets cut off. So, Doris, look, to me, ratios are a symptom of a bigger problem, that we are not paid to actually generate real outcomes for patients. The minute hospitals are paid and clinics are paid and doctors are paid and nurses are paid to generate real outcomes, meaning improved blood pressure control, outcomes that matter to patients like being mobile, being at home, dying on their terms, those kind of outcomes. When we get paid to generate those kind of outcomes instead of clicking boxes to satisfy quality measures that don't even measure quality, right? When that starts to happen, they will find that the ratios won't even be necessary because what will happen is they'll go, well, no, there's too many patients to the nurse, which means the outcomes are going to be worse, which means we're not going to get paid. So let's get more support in here. Let's get either more nurses or more CNAs or both. Let's get better staffing across the board. Let's make sure we're spending time and listening to our patients so that we understand what their hopes, dreams, and fears are so that we can serve up the compassionate care that they need uniquely for them. And we're going to get paid to do that. And if we don't accomplish it, because the staffing is crap, then we don't get paid. Imagine then how the change is going to be in how administrators look at the problem. But for now, when we're in 2.0, when it's a volume mill, when it's an assembly line, when it's about churning patients through to get paid, yes, of course, Doris, they're never going to listen to us because it doesn't affect the bottom line. And they have a fiduciary responsibility to affect the bottom line. And they look at us like we're crazy, like we're just throwing money away and we're lazy, which is absolutely not true. We want to do the right things for patients, but we won't get paid to do that. So that's all got to change. So as we start expanding the 3.0 movement, what you're going to start to see is more concrete ideas of how we might be able to do this. And it's going to start with policy. The Affordable Care Act, okay, it's a mess. The AHCA, its replacement, is a mess. Let's be honest. They both are not going to work. They're not the game we need to be playing, okay? What needs to happen is something very different. And I'm going to preface this because I want to start to lay the groundwork for what we're going to talk about in the future. People who say that we need to get government out of healthcare are deluded, and I'm going to tell you why. They come from a good place, right? Government screws stuff up, sure, but they're deluded because already the government is in 50 to 60% of healthcare through Medicare and Medicaid, and also setting prices for private insurance through their Medicaid reimbursement rates. So they are already there. They are not effective. And we have mixed it with this sort of blah of private fragmented insurance, fee-for-service, HMO, capitation, Medicare, Medicaid, CHIP, all this mess. That's all got to go away. We're never going to fix the problem until we address this fundamental fragmentation. And there's a way to do it that maintains free market enterprise, maintains competition, maintains patient choice, and doesn't just homogenize us into one gooey single payer mush, which I don't think would work in America. Because America is, as much as I hate the term American exceptionalism, we're the great experimental venue. The American experiment has been going on for hundreds of years now, and we're only just getting started. We can do healthcare better than anywhere else in the world, but we don't now. We do it horribly. But it is our opportunity to fix it. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking about this more. It's going to need nurses and doctors and pharmacists and PAs and everybody, administrators, government to do it. All right, ZPAC, I love y'all. I'm going to go get back to my family. I hope you guys are, all the nurses on the front line, I hope you're getting treated well. All right, on at least during Nurses Week, hopefully not during Nurses Week. And if not, stay part of the tribe and we're going to make changes. All right, guys, peace out. We love you.